Hello, my name's Scott, and today I'm going to walk you through how to use a query function within Google Sheets. Query functions are powerful, pseudo SQL or SQL language that allows you to run queries on your data within your Excel spreadsheets or Google Sheets spreadsheets. It's really powerful, lets you answer questions very quickly and with a lot less effort than traditional functions, I would say. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but hopefully this video will help you understand the basics. And if you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments, and I'll be happy to do my best to answer them. So let's begin. So right here, from columns A to columns E, I have just sample data. It's all made up. Just gives us some different elements to play with in order to show the power of the query function. So let's start off by just writing one. We'll do a very basic one to start. So in order to do that, I'd always suggest that you expand your function entry area, just because it's a little easier with queries. They get kind of run on. They go for a long time. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually order or organize our functions so that it's very clean and easy to edit later. So to start, what we're going to do is we're going to enter the function itself, which is equals query. We're going to close or open the bracket. And what you always want to do is select your data range. I always suggest you select the columns themselves. This way, if you add in new values at a later time, they'll get pulled in to the query itself, and it will update with that new data without any issues. So here, I'm going to select columns A through E. Once that's done, we want to enter a comma, and we want to open our quotations. The details of the query will all live within your quotation marks. So you want to start with a quotation and end with a quotation mark. So now that we've done that, as I said, we want to keep it neat. For now, this function will be simple, but we'll want for the later examples for it to be a lot cleaner. So what we're going to do, I'm on a Mac, on a PC, it's a little different, but I'm going to click Option Enter to put the next part of my query on the next line. What we want to do is then enter the first part of our query, which is the select function. So here, you want to select the data that you want to display. So in this case, for this first example, I'm going to use the little star symbol, and this denotes selecting all data. So it's going to take everything from row A to row E. Right now, if I click to enter after closing my quotations, I'm going to do quotations, enter. It selects everything identical to how I've had it before. But it goes much deeper than that. This would be useless. So what we want to do, unless you're taking this from one spreadsheet to another, if we actually do that, it's maybe a great example to throw in early. So here we can select our range, which in this case would be A to B, no, A to E. And as you can see, it pulls the data from the range spreadsheet into sheet 2 without difficulty. And this is actually something that I'll show in maybe a later video, which is combining sheets. Query functions are great for that, and that's actually how I started using them. So jumping back to the query itself, what we're going to do is add in other features. So ways to slice and dice our data that helps us really make value out of this function. So the next part that I tend to do in a query is where. So in this case, we're going to use an example where we want to take all items in column A and only look at those that are greater than, let's say, 15. So I'm going to say where A is greater than 15. And when we do that, you can see that now it's only taking the data from items 16 to items 55. So another great thing, super simple. Let's say we actually wanted to reverse the order. Then we type in order. In this case, we want to order by column A. And what we want to do is either order in ascending order, which is denoted by ASC. This already is doing that, so it's a little boring. So instead, we're going to do descending order, which is basically going 55 down to 16. And as you can see, we've now flipped that so that it's descending instead of ascending. Next up, we can actually do some very interesting things. Let's say we want to change the label. We'll add that in. So we're going to say label A. Instead of item number, you want to enter, instead of quotation marks, just regular, whatever they're called. And what you're going to do is enter a new value. So instead of item number, I'm going to just say code value. And as you can see, the title has now switched from item number to code value. So basics are out of the way. We've done a little bit here. But now let's make this a little more interesting. So let's say instead of doing it like this, where we're taking the initial data and regurgitating it in a different way, let's actually modify this a lot further. So instead of selecting all, I'm actually going to get rid of item number. So I'm going to select B, C, D, and E. But instead of taking the weight, I'm actually going to take the average weight, and I'm going to put that in average, and I'm going to actually take the sum of the cost, which is column E. So just there, I'm taking the average of column B and the cost, the sum of column E. So in this case, it's still looking at only one value. So we're going to want to do something else. Here, this is a little boring. Let's say where the shape, or actually the color, so column D, is equal to red. And we're going to have to do double quotation marks. You want to make sure that when you are doing this, it's green. If it's not, there's a problem. You're going to get a wrong answer. So when you're entering text values, you want to use a double quotation, whereas when you're entering a numerical value, you don't want any quotation marks at all. In a future video, I'm also going to show you how to enter a value as a filter. So that takes this to a next level. It's maybe not great for a beginner video. So I'll do a separate one on that, more advanced queries. But moving forward, so we've done this, but now we no longer have column A. So instead, we're going to say order by column, let's just say C. And we're going to do it again, ascending. And what we want to do is also add in the following. So we're going to add in a group by, and we're going to say group by C. And then what this will do is it will put the shapes as the grouping. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm also going to put that in a different order. So we're going to put C in front, D we don't need actually because we're using that as the where clause. And we're going to hope this works. So we have an error here, and let's see why. So column C only once. That means we did not pick the best value. So let's see if we do this as blue. And here we want this as, I'll just remove this for now. Blue. Actually, it should be fine. Let's try that again. Red. And we don't want column A. This was also something we're going to label column C as shapes. So we still are getting the error. Let's see why. So unable to parse query string, function, query parameter 2, column C only once. So So select, that's why I thought I took that out. And there we go. So what we have right here is the output. So now we have the different shapes, circle, cube, and rectangle. And we've got our averages, which take the average of those shapes when they're equal to red. And we also have the sum of the costs for each of those red groupings. One thing that I'll mention is, as you can see, query functions are a little unforgiving. So if you have a little typo or a little error, you will get issues. So here, what I actually had was I wanted to change the order at which these were showing. So I moved column C from the second value to the first value, but I forgot to remove C from that select clause. And what that caused was basically, when I press enter again, it gives me this error. It doesn't really tell you enough for you to figure it out yourself, but working through these problems will really help you understand how to identify quickly what you've done wrong. And honestly, the trade-off is very well worth it in the sense that here, basically recreated my own pivot table, and it's very easy to go and change things. Let's say I want to see the blue shapes. Just type in blue, which is in our column D, and we could see that there. Or if I want to see all of them, I could just take off this. I can add in the colors in front. So D would be the selected column. I'm going to group by D and then by C. I'm also going to order it, actually. Order by, and we're going to say the average of B. And we're going to do that descending. And let's hope this works. So what do we got? We've got our blue cube. Oh, I thought I took that off. I'm going to remove the where D is equal to that. So let's say all. So now what we have is it's ordering the biggest average weight by shape and by color. So I can see that the red cube is the highest average weight, whereas the blue circle is the lowest average weight. We can even do other things too. We could switch that from, instead of average of weight descending, we could say the sum of our column E, which is cost. So then now you could see the order has changed. Maybe I'll even just very quickly, for anyone looking and finding this a little small, put it to 2 decimal places in the center. Costs, I'll add in dollar signs. And as you can see here, the red circle is the most expensive, then the red cube, all the way down to the least expensive, which is the red rectangle. So honestly, this is the basics. You can use this instead of a pivot table in certain cases. There's some advantages to a pivot table, which is a little bit more flexibility when you're handing this off to other people, let's say in your workplace or who you're working with. Not everyone is too adept in query functions, but if you're doing something for yourself and you want to stack rank things or show basically quick views of different data sets, I would say query is your best option. In a follow-up video, I'll be showing advanced query, different options that you can do in Excel, how to do grand totals, how to do filtering, and hopefully that will allow you to take this to the next level and make the best use of this function. Well, thank you for listening. Hopefully this was helpful. If you liked the video, please feel free to like it, share it with someone at your office, and hopefully this helped you out. Take care and have a good one.